Hello everyone, I'm Steve. Mark's not home yet from work, and this is Smokey Steve and Mark. Welcome or welcome back. Thursday. I love me a Thursday. So, we're going to do a little bit of a check-in, mental health check-in. We had done a few during Mental Health Month, but of course the journey continues. So I had to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what kind of snafu happened today, which was very challenging to cope with, if you're me, and check in with what me and my therapist are working on. So, the overarch of mental health is that we've said on the channel a lot. I have bipolar disorder, Mark had depression, we both had substance use disorders, I had eating problems. So we have the lived experience on that end of things. But as far as just because you've taken care of yourself, it doesn't mean things don't happen, I guess, sometimes. Like today, my guard wasn't super up. So I had an appointment scheduled, which is paint a picture. Had to work an hour early, get in the car, it was still 7:30. Had to be at the place at 9:15, and it was about an hour or so away. So I get the car, I have all my stuff. I end up having to stop in the office this morning because I forgot some stuff to bring. I was doing a presentation and I didn't have any of the handouts with me, so I had to go to the office anyway. Then got there, and it was a presentation that I had to give on a mental health resource called a Mental Health Advance Directive, which is a legal document, which means you need to be super precise when you tell people about what it is, how it works, and if they maybe want one for themselves. I've had one before, I don't think it's updated. And that document is just in anticipation of being a little bit off later. You make it now when you're well, to let people know your wishes in case you, for a little bit or forever. So that was what the training was about this morning, and it went okay. They were a good group. Folks at these groups and facilities can sometimes be like kids. They just stare a hole straight through you and don't say anything. So the audience I had this morning was good. That was very good. Then what had happened was I was supposed to go do some surveys, consumer surveys, across the state. So I had gone from about the Allentown area back up to Scranton, from Scranton to Stroudsburg. So I had texted my boss saying, I'm going to leave in about, I'm going to leave now, I'm going to be coming back to the office. I was going to go back to Scranton to grab stuff, and it was kind of too early to just drive there from there, so we didn't go. So I get the first place handled, I go for the surveys, can't find the place. Look at another address, can't find the place. Coworker texts me, where are you? I don't know. She texts me back. The county office gave us the wrong address for where we're going. And there was one specific individual we were searching for to survey, and she could not be tied down. People didn't seem to know where she was. So it felt like a waste of an afternoon, and I was in the car a lot. I mean, had I gone back, I still would have been in the car for at least 3-4 hours, and today it was a little more than that anyway. But the afternoon between trying to set up appointments, running around in circles, getting lost, and by the way, each of my phones died while I was out, because I had one with the GPS going, and then I had my work phone with me either. And I hate texting and talking on the phone driving, so they pile up, and then I'll pull over at a rest stop and clean them out. It's distracted. I don't need any other distractions driving. So we drove. We didn't get any surveys done at the new place. I went back to the office, put gas in the company car, and now we're here. So that's today's little in just a few minutes. With a good morning and a tough afternoon, it's leaving me kind of exhausted at this point. Not physically, but like mentally. I'm much more relaxed, much more whatever. What happened? I could just very easily shrug at the worst catastrophes at the end of some days because it just feels tiring. Everyone who has a job, it's tiring. If you have no job, you could have activities that are tiring. Or if you work in the home or out of home or from home or in an office or in a field or in a factory or wherever you work. Sometimes it sticks to you. And I'm pretty good at leaving stuff with patients and people that get upset. Leaving stuff at home at the end of the day isn't too hard because it keeps it green, but I don't drag it with me. But when there's conflict at work, I do take that home with me. So what I've been experiencing, if you've been listening in, is some anxiety. So the psychiatrist, I still have the same that I've had. We've had no med changes. The last time I went in for a med change, the PA, who I see, had suggested therapy, only because I've tried a lot of different meds. I'm close to the top on some of the ones, otherwise I'd have to switch drugs, and I hate it. It's always a nightmare. It can take months. I ended up in the hospital for it before. So that's a little bit. But So for therapy, I'm up to my fourth session, and we met in person for the intake, and then his name's Jay, and then we did we did 2 more sessions. I missed one because I couldn't make it. It was scheduled in the middle of the work day. How come people with nowhere to be schedule appointments for you in the center of your day? You know, it's challenging to get away. However, now that we've met in person 3-4 times, we're going to switch over to doing Zoom because he has to travel a bit to get to the office. I have to travel just across town to go to it. And there's not too much that we can do over Zoom that we did in person. And if Zoom doesn't work, we'll go back to and resume it being in person. So getting to know him pretty quick because we've been seeing each other once a week, every other week. My next appointment is into July. It'll be Zoom, so I can be home. And if it's a Zoom appointment and I'm at work, I could request an hour off and shut my office door and have therapy right there, probably. So that's an option. So as he narrowed down, anxiety is the worst thing I'm probably coping with. He used the word debilitating. It's probably not grand at some points, but other times it is. And the moods I can manage. I know when they're coming. I have a good skill set to handle them. Anxiety, I don't. I was bred on anxiety. It's a family trait. It just gallops in the family. To the point where it can cause miscommunication. Right? Things can get twisted. I remember my brother and my father had an issue with my mother, and he brought his stuffed bunny to see me. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. So nobody else was going to a psychiatrist except for me. So everybody else was having issues and concerns but kept to themselves. And my mom is from the generation of, it's my nerves. You know, it's nothing, it's my nerves. And just write it off as that. No diagnosis, just the way things are. And I was an incredibly anxious kid, and I kind of thought I grew out of it, but when I think about things that are kind of fearful or intimidating to me, it's the anxiety and not managing it that scares me. The anxious part of me having to talk in front of people is not that I don't know what I'm talking about, or freezing. I can cover a freeze when I'm talking, that's okay. But I just felt, I don't know. The work that we're doing is about anxiety, and so I'm trying to be open-minded to tools to deal with that. The medications are not an option. They have one that's for a PRN, like an emergency, and it's practically Benadryl. It's not a controlled substance. The good thing about Xanax and Klonopin is that they work. The bad thing about them is that they work. So people who aren't even addicted to them can be habituated over a long period of time, and then stopping things can happen there. So we're doing this med-free aside from what I was taking. Now, the first bit of homework he gave, I think in the last video I mentioned Socratic questioning. I was going to pose a few questions to each issue that came up during the week. And the interesting spin he took with me, which of course I'm special, most things are in shades of gray. They're not black and white, you know. So that's usually the mode they go into with people who have kind of rigid, structured thinking, to be a little more loose, a little more... Okay, not me. He said, we're going to do the opposite. He's like, you're too in the gray. We need you to be black and white. Okay, we can do that. I have no problem doing that. How do you do that? Because everything makes me a little bit anxious, but I've had it for years. So it kind of feels like, I don't know. The first question that always comes, there's 3 test questions I'm supposed to give anything that provokes anxiety. The first question is, how realistic is it that this will happen? 80% or lower, he says don't worry about it. If it does happen, will I know in 5 years, 2 years, 1 year? Will it even make a difference if what I'm afraid is going to happen actually happens? And there's the odds, there was that, and the first question for everything is fact or feeling. And that's where the black and white for me comes in, because he says, I want you to be able to clearly separate facts from feelings. And kind of a chain of command. He said, start at the top with the question. So the situation I had today, I was anxious driving and whatever. So that's going to start up here. Was it anxiety provoking? Yes, definitely it was. It was a high anxiety thing. Driving for me gets periodically hard time to time. So is it going to matter? No. In a year? Probably not. Will I remember in a year? Will there be any consequences from it? Probably not. I'll forget by tomorrow that I was anxious about something yesterday. But trying to keep it real to facts, odds, and so what are kind of the big 3 questions that go with it. So sticking with the facts, I've been told to separate thoughts as they come in. First thing when I'm feeling sort of uncomfortable, is it a thought or is it a feeling? If it's a thought, I was directed, not you, to stop right there. That's where my black and white thinking is going to be trained around, apparently, because I'm not able to break things off so easily. I see things so in the middle that I can't just make a hard cut. So if something is a feeling, decidedly not a fact, I'm supposed to let it go. No more thought, no more attention, no more how likely is it, nothing, just to let it go. Now I was told this takes practice, which I assume it will, but so far so good. I had a couple things that I was trying it out on. I have weird anxieties that come up all the time. Like now that I'm in my 40s, death and health comes up, mine and other people's I know, job security and financial security, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of it ties into my job because my job allows us to have a place to live, to pay our way, to not have to depend on anybody else. Not that a little help here and there isn't a good thing, but to be living off of another person. And Mark and I, when we were married, we were a two-income family. And barring something unforeseen, the expectation is that we would be. Neither of us would be quitting our jobs so the other one could stay home. The only time it would happen is if Mark got sick. I guess me too. But if Mark got sick and couldn't do physically some stuff, finding him either work from home or some kind of supplement he can get to get by with whatever he needs. So make sure he has insurance to get medication and like that kind of stuff. So fact or feeling is hard because it's my relationship. Almost all of them are feelings. So it's hard to kind of scrunch it down a little bit that I'm going to easily be separating fact and feeling. But we're going to try. That's what we're going to go with. And then given a chance, what it'll happen. What are the odds it'll actually happen? Oh, here's a better example. I've been watching roller coaster catastrophes. So do they happen? Yes, fact. What are the odds of it happening if I'm on this ride? Is it greater than 80% likelihood that I'm going to die getting off this ride? Probably not. Observable stuff says you see people go up and down, and they've been open for years, and you can ask for safety reports. And the goal is, again, stick with the facts. Don't deal with the feeling anxious thing. It's not like a witching wand that'll bring you to certain sort of conclusions. It doesn't work like that. So, roller coaster, definitely feeling, don't want to do it. What are the odds it'll crash? Well, that's less than 80%. I would say it's rather rare that there's an accident on something like a roller coaster. When they happen, they're usually deadly, but they don't happen as often. So that ends that right there. What are the odds of it happening? There's the next stop. So if I go from fact feeling to this next one, and it doesn't seem like it's likely, that's where I stop and don't go further. That's the black-white cutoff. Then it comes to the last question, which is, even if everything I'm afraid of is happening, will it matter in a week? Will it matter in a year? Will it matter in 5 years? Just to try to gain some perspective around something that feels very important right now, that in a week it wouldn't even matter, and I just ruined the whole day being anxious about it. There's plenty of anxiety to go around, and if I really want to go back to being a basket case, I'll give it 6 months. But in the meantime, I wanted to commit to therapy, see if it would help. Me having less anxiety and being able to cope with it better would help my job, help the relationship, help me bond with the cats. It's something that runs in the family, and it's a challenge, and you know, I have other family members who have anxiety diagnosed, and talk to them, and it's weird when you're talking to your brother-in of illness, other people who share the same challenges, mental or physical. There's just a knowing look when you meet eyes with somebody, either in a waiting room or somewhere, and you're like, you know what I'm here for, and you know what it's like too. That wraps up where I'm at in therapy and where I'm at today. So what does that leave going forward? We're coming to the weekend. So tomorrow I have to work a full day, and I work at a recovery center, so I can't work from home or anything. I have to go in. And they just had a 4th of July barbecue there, actually, with some guests from State Hospital came to visit. So it was pretty nice to do that. 4th of July for us, I don't think I'm doing anything at all. Probably just hang out here. My parents go up to the lake to see my aunt and her family, my mom's sister. And we'll probably just be here. But I'm content to be here now. This self-care thing it was easier, like everything, it was easier 10 years ago. I could force myself out of bed, have a cup of coffee. The first year I was in recovery, so like 2012, addiction recovery too. I got up at 8 o'clock every single day, even on the weekends. I had no job, I had nowhere to be, I had no property. My wallet was empty of identification, credit cards, money. I had nothing to begin with. And again, that's anxiety provoking. That can happen too. But the wellness tools I was trying to do, like I said, get up in the morning. I had 1 cup of coffee a day, just one. Big one in the morning. I would spend half an hour with either my light box or just getting some sunlight, not stare at it, but coming in this way would always help me wake up. Having regular meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, a snack here and there, and trying to be normal about it, because when I'm working on a mental health issue of this kind here, less of my attention is going to moods and eating disorders. It's a lot of plates. Got to keep spinning all the time, and when one's going good, you got to turn around and spin another one. That's how it is for a lot of folks. And again, I'm nobody special. People have all sorts of twists and illnesses through their life, and sometimes you get better and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get better and get worse, and then sometimes you need help forever. And sometimes, like a bad memory, it just kind of passes by as part of your life and you kind of just distance from it. When I was done drinking, I was just kind of done. It wasn't like white knuckling it not to. It's just like that part of my life just feels like it's over now. That doesn't mean I'm immune to cravings or temptation, but it does mean that it's not as big of a deal as it used to be. So the anxiety creeping in the other places where there's openings, that's been what's the deal. So that's what the therapy's for, and that's what some of these check-ins are for. We have good viewers. We have very good viewers. I'm sure other people do too, but we have good ones who know about mental health, who like to talk about mental health, who have lived experience, which is we are the experts on ourselves. Okay, I work as a peer specialist. That means I have lived experience as a person with a mental health issue, and I'm living with it, coping with it, able to work with it, thrive with it. So, it's been a good job. I've been working in mental health for about 10 years now, and I switched from peer support to doing education and training and that kind of thing, and it's fun, and I love it. It's challenging work. It's mentally very challenging work, and I can't wait for a little while from now when I've picked up some more skills or when they felt like they work a little more, that I can kind of keep anxiety. I don't know what I will be like without anxiety or with less of it. I mean, a certain tiny amount is good for the fight or flight bit, but I'm ready to freaking fly all the time. I'm big for nothing. I always want to jet off. Don't want to deal, don't want to do, nothing. Just go away. So I'm going to see how we do, and I'll let you know over the next, these won't be scheduled, but maybe a couple a month, or if something big comes up that I want to share or get some feedback on, I'll put it there. But otherwise, fortunately, I don't have bad mental health days every day. Most of them are fine. Some of them are just crap days and they have nothing to do with mental illness. Like, you don't have to have a problem to have a bad day. Bad days happen. So keeping it in context, keeping myself right-sized, thinking about it, and remembering that while what I'm dealing with is challenging, plenty of other people have challenges all their own. Some more serious, some need more attention, whatever. But this is my lot for the moment. This is what I'm working on. And it's hit or miss, but I've only been doing it for a few weeks, so we're going to see how that goes. You'll see a whole new calm, gentle Steve. Wait till you see. Unless it's Valium, but no. Not so much for that. So thank you for joining me for a quick sit down, and thanks for watching. Again, we'll check in with mental health check-ins as we go along, maybe every couple weeks or so. Mark also is a little more closed up about sharing mental personal stuff, but he feels comfortable with y'all, so I think he probably would open up and have more of a discussion, or the two of us having a discussion about that kind of thing. We could dedicate a whole live to just mental health topics and hanging out. It doesn't have to be open whatever, and it doesn't have to be foodie beauty. We could do other stuff too. So let me know if you like the video. Definitely. Please do subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell. You get alerts when we have new videos and go live. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We have all our contact info below as well. Thank you. Thank you for indulging me and listening to me at the end of a long day. You guys, I'm trauma dumping, and I thank you. So that's all we got. Check in tomorrow. We should be doing, I want to say, a chit chat tomorrow. And we have some stuff to open. Mark went to the post office and we had some packages, so he did go get some of those things. So probably mail call, chit chat, and then Saturday, we'll see, and then Sunday live. So we have content planned going through. I do have Steve Will Try It's in the back of my head too, so this is what this Thursday is, but we've got a lot of room to grow also. So thanks for being here, thanks for listening. Hope y'all are doing well. Look after yourselves. and we'll see you soon. Okay? Bye. Say goodbye, Mark. He still ain't home. Bye.